It was just about 5 in the morning, as it was about 4:55 when this first CSX train, led by two GP4-2s, went across the diamond. This train was going full speed, and the CSX train was going to be much busier as we went through the morning. Just after the CSX Autorack train cleared, this Norfolk Southern empty trailer train, led by two Norfolk Southern AC44 C6Ms, one of them in the special AC to DC conversion paint scheme. This train was probably bound for the Bailey Yard, just on the loop, but I'm not quite sure why it wasn't taking the other line, because there aren't any really big intermodal yards close by. But then again, anything can happen. Next up was a CSX trackage rights intermodal train, led by one of CSX's 20 SD70 ACEs. CSX might purchase more of these in the future, and they might sell them off, but they only have 20 for now. This train was coming from the Bailey Yard on CSX's trackage rights program throughout the loop to the Bailey Intermodal Yard. Next up was an Amtrak train. It was just coming out of its station stop here in Loop County, and it was the Eastern Express. We would also see the other train of this, the northbound train, but this train was headed southbound and very early in the morning. This was about at 5:45. But then another train was coming. It was a CSX train that was coming down the line. I heard it coming across the crossing, led by two -8s, both of them ex-Conrail. This was a CSX grain train bound for concrete plants just west of here. There's also a concrete plant on the NS, but CSX doesn't have trackage rights to it. As you can see, the Amtrak train is still stopped, but is just about to get going as we change our camera angles as we see the doors start to close. But this Amtrak leaving the station was the wake-up call for a Norfolk Southern northbound grain train led by a Union Pacific SD-70M. Now, I had been wondering how come there hadn't been that many Norfolk Southern trains from the morning. There was only the one led by the AC-44C6M and the grain train. But, right as I was thinking that, this NS northbound intermodal train was coming up the line. Right after that train cleared, I moved over to the Shell gas station to get a better shot of the mail train bound for this town, as there's a mail yard where you can see those FedEx and USPS trailers. This was an awesome shot of the New York Central Heritage Unit, but when I was admiring it, this CSX coal train snuck up on me and raced the train. The CSX coal train completely blocked my shot, but I wasn't really that worried because the CSX train was moving along and the NS train was slowly creeping up to the crossing and was probably slowing down at that moment so that it could go across the Y. Then the CSX train finally cleared, and I had an okay shot of the New York Central Heritage Unit, but it wasn't as good as it was earlier when the CSX train wasn't there. After a few minutes, the New York Central units had switched all of their cars into the yard, but as that happened, I had to cross the tracks fast, because on the radio I heard this. A CSX westbound mixed freight, which I barely crossed the tracks in time to get a hold of. For some reason it was hightailing it, probably because there wasn't much traffic, but he was moving fast. at about 6:30, this Norfolk Southern southbound coal train started moving across the diamond. This train was probably bound for the coal mines over east, but for now he was going south. I decided I'd chase the coal train down to Bailey so I could get another shot of him. But what I didn't know was that the Amtrak northbound Eastern Express was on its way because the other train was running extremely late. So there went the coal train, but then right when I turned over, I saw some lights, and then this Amtrak train going across the crossing. And he was moving for sure. So I decided I'd move over to the crossings up where the Y was, but there was also a Norfolk Southern ethanol train which had trackage rights on the CSX. It had 2 UP units leading, and it probably would be going to Chicago to turn into a UP or BNSF train, probably a Union Pacific, and then haul out to Nebraska or South Dakota. But usually it's Nebraska or South Dakota. Probably nowhere else, unless they were empties, but they seemed to be full as they raced to the crossings. Personally, I'd expected the Amtrak to beat him, but the Amtrak slowed down a little bit too quickly, and the Union Pacific won the race. Now, it was almost 8 in the morning, so I was about ready to get going out of there. But on my radio, I heard another southbound coal train coming, and decided that I should let that be my final train, as the Amtrak went across the Y. Right here, I was looking into the distance to see if I could even catch a glimpse of that Norfolk Southern train with UP leading, but then I heard the train, so I moved over to the other crossing to take a look. And that pretty much did it for me that day. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later in the next video.